The first 2 episodes of Hawkeye are streaming now on Disney+, and just like every other Marvel project in the cinematic universe, there are so many Easter eggs to find. Since much of the show's underlying villainous plot is still kept under wraps, some of these Easter eggs just might hint at what Hawkeye is setting up for the future of the MCU. While one theory ties into the reveal of Kang the Conqueror at the end of Loki, another theory speculates about the possibility of bringing in a familiar character who hasn't properly crossed over into the big screen world of the MCU. So let's get into the Hawkeye Easter eggs. Before we proceed, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to always be updated on our latest videos. We'd also just like to clarify that Easter eggs are not clear and obvious references to comics that Marvel Studios is adapting or the movies and TV shows that came before. The presence of the Tracksuit Mafia and the introduction of characters like Kate Bishop and Jack DeKent from the comics are not Easter eggs. For some real Easter eggs, keep watching. Kate Bishop's friend Greer might just be Tigra. The reason that Kate Bishop is trying to ring the bell and stay in Tower is a bet made with her friend Greer, who we hear on the phone with Kate while Kate is trying to make good on the wager. In the Marvel comics, Greer happens to be the name of the Marvel vigilante Tigra, a human-tiger hybrid, not unlike the cheetah in Wonder Woman 1984. Hawkeye actually squares off with this character in the comics, but this is likely nothing more than a cheeky reference to the character name. Fun fact, the actors portraying everyone on stage are actual Broadway stars, including the Rent actor Adam Pascal as one of the New Yorkers featured in the scene. In the beginning of the show, we see Kate Bishop in present day. She's pulling off a bit of a college prank with her friends. Using her archery skills, Bishop rings the bell in the oldest university bell tower in the United States, only to accidentally make it completely crumble. In case you didn't see the sign, the bell tower is called Stane Tower, and it's a plaque on the school ground that confirms it is named after Obadiah Stane, the Iron Man villain played by Jeff Bridges. Specifically said that we would not be calling out supporting characters in the show as Easter eggs, but in this case, the introduction of Detective Clawdle feels like it could definitely be an Easter egg that turns into something more. In the pages of the Marvel comic, Detective Clawdle is one of Kate Bishop's allies, acting as a contract in the Santa Monica Police Department while she's doing detective work of her own. Perhaps this is a small setup for an eventual partnership if Kate Bishop is meant to have her own series. Meanwhile, we're going to point out that the character Grills is an Easter egg since he's not an adaptation of the character with the same name from the Hawkeye comics. In Matt Fraction and David Aja's beloved comic run, the character of Grills is a white guy who is frequently grilling on the rooftop of the apartment building that Clint Barton has moved into. The LARPer named Grills, who came into possession of the Ronin outfit and used it for role-playing, is obviously a drastic departure from that character, but the name is still used as a little nod to the comic. The apartment where Kate Bishop chooses to hide out belongs to her aunt. Later on, we learn that her aunt is actually Myra Brandon, who is a deep-cut reference to the Avengers West Coast number 100. Myra Brandon is a retired movie star whose mansion was purchased by Hawkeye as a new base for the West Coast Avengers. The series has kept Brandon's history in the movies intact, as evidenced by a poster for an old sci-fi movie called Creature of the Dark Galaxy on the wall. Myra Brandon's name is right there at the top alongside the name of Luke Ballard, which is a reference to one of Marvel's visual development artists. Will Myra Brandon end up playing a more pivotal role in Kate's life? We'll have to keep watching to find out. Kate Bishop stumbles upon an illegal underground auction happening at a very elite party being attended by her mother Eleanor and her new husband Jack DeKent. In fact, it's Jack and his father Armand who are bidding on some very expensive items, including the Ronin sword and suit from the wreckage of Avengers compound in upstate New York. Although that's interesting, the more intriguing item is number 268, a watch that was also retrieved from Avengers compound. That's what the Tracksuit Mafia appears to have been after when they crashed the auction and got into a scuffle with Kate Bishop, but we have no idea why. However, there are a couple interesting theories to consider. First of all, the 268 designation could be a sly reference to Avengers 268, which just so happens to deal with the Kang the Conqueror and other versions of the character. Could this have something to do with the Marvel villain who debuted in Loki and will prominently feature in Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania, which is released in July 2023? We still haven't heard who purchased Stark Tower, and since the sale is mentioned in the second episode of Hawkeye, we're wondering if Kang Industries will be revealed as the buyer, introducing us to one of Kang's Conqueror variants. After all, we already saw Stark Tower with the Kang name on it in the Void from Loki, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. What would he want with the watch? Well, Captain America Civil War revealed that Tony Stark could conceal Iron Man tech in his watch, and the entire suit from the Avengers Infinity War was able to fit in his chest piece. So it's possible that there's coveted dangerous Stark tech inside that watch. Shang-Chi enters the Marvel Studios logo. This year, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings introduced a brand new superhero into the MCU, and he's now been added to the Marvel Studios opening logo. As you can see above, right there in the M of Marvel, there's Simu Liu's wielding the power of the Ten Rings. Welcome to the fam! When Clint has been kidnapped by the tracksuit mafia, Kate uses tracking software from her mother's security company to find out where he's been located. For a brief moment, we see Kate's username, which is Bishop112012. That's not just a random assortment of numbers. November of 2012 refers to Hawkeye, volume number 4, number 2, a key comic book issue that marks the first appearance of Lucky the Pizza Dog. A Screen Crush came up with another theory. If the Ronin sword and suit were at Avengers compound with the watch, perhaps it's something that Clint Barton stole from a crime boss during his time as a brutal vigilante. What if Clint stole it from Kingpin from the Daredevil series on Netflix, and he's commissioned the tracksuit mafia to get it back? When Clint is speaking with his wife Laura by phone, he mentions that he's not sure how high this goes, and it would be quite surprising if it went all the way to the top. Neither Clint nor Kate are aware of the watch being what the tracksuit mafia was after, so it's bound to be an important reveal. Lastly, the end of the second episode of Hawkeye teases the introducing of Alaqua Cox as Maya Lopez, a character who is seemingly being set up as a villain in the show and is also slated to have her own Disney Plus series called Echo, named after her alter ego. It just so happens that Echo's father was killed by Kingpin. Combine that with the rumors of Charlie Cox potentially appearing as Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home, and we could be looking at Marvel's Daredevil series being folded into the larger MCU in a more proper fashion. Let us know in the comments if you think we missed any Easter eggs from episode 1 and 2 of Hawkeye. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.